Hello, good evening and welcome to the program. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Tonight on the program, our focus is on the fast-changing political landscape ahead of the 2027 general elections. The National Assembly is considering a proposal to bring the election date forward by 6 months, a move aimed at allowing time for all court cases to be settled before the swearing-in of elected officials. But the idea has sparked some sort of public backlash, especially from opposition parties like the African Democratic Congress, which says the plan could shorten governance time and push the country into constant election mode. At the same time, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is battling fresh internal tensions with its national chairman, Ambassador Umar Damagun, and legal advisor Kamaluddin Ajibade openly disagreeing in court over who has authority to appoint the party's legal counsel. The crisis deepens as defections continue to erode the PDP's ranks. 3 of its governors are now aiming to move to the ruling All Progressive Congress, and we've already witnessed the latest decamp being that of Governor Peter Mbah of Enugu State, who announced his defection earlier in the week and made good on that claim earlier in the day. Well, join us tonight to unpack these developments will be political strategies and one of PDP's strong voices, Professor Udenta. But first things first, a look at the latest developments in the polity. Here's the rundown. Okay. We'll circle back to that a little later. Well, let's bring in our guest for tonight's conversation, Professor Udenta, to analyze some of the developing issues within the polity, some of the politics of 2027. Prof, it's good to see you again.
It's a pleasure to be with you once more after a short while.
Exactly.
But let me make a clarification.
Right.
Political strategist, founding National Secretary of Alliance for Democracy. Right. I'm not a strong person. I'm not a member of PDP.
Right.
Yes. I don't belong to the party.
Right.
My big brother here, Ma Ogidi, who is coming in after me, is a member of the party. He will speak from the side of the party.
I suppose it's fair to say you're a proponent of some of the voices in the PDP.
Well, no, but of individuals, people, you know, across not just PDP, across the country. As a patriot and a nationalist, I weigh my views, you know, as they affect the politics and governance from various perspectives. So the point is to clarify that I'm not a member of the PDP. I'm not a strong voice of the PDP. Even if I have sympathy for certain aspects of individuals within the party, I'm not a member of the party.
Right. So let's start.
It's important to make that point.
A point taken, Prof. And let's start from the point of the electoral reforms, which have become, you know, some of the leading headlines. I mean, whenever they have an opportunity to lead the headlines, we talk about some of those reforms. And over the last 24 hours, some of the committee sittings with the public hearings have been taking place at the National Assembly. And we've been hearing some of those new ideas being espoused by the committees at the public hearings from stakeholders alike. And one of those issues that sticks out is the issue of the timing of the election. Somebody leaked it. I mean, there's no leak. There was a public hearing, and this is public knowledge. But the information is that the National Assembly is canvassing for. Yeah, exactly. Not from the public hearing, but they're canvassing for. If I'm wrong, the idea, what I read all over the place, is that the National Assembly as a body, as an infrastructure of governance, is canvassing for this. Exactly. Or is it that individuals across the country are canvassing for it in public hearings? I need to know. As you're well aware, the legislative process allows for outside input. No, I'm saying this particular one now, is it just mass conversations across the geopolitical zones on the basis of amendment? Or is it the National Assembly? Is one of those amendments that is on the table? I say, who is pushing the amendment? Is it like members' bail or from civil society groups or something? As you're aware, I mean, from last year, because at the point I'm making is last year to now, there have been so many recommendations that have been made. Some of them from INEC, some of them from civil society groups. I want to know where this is coming from, because you see, they were out there in that conversation, among many other important, strategically important amendment to the Electoral Act. This one jumps out. Nobody ever lists those other ones with specific details, but this one has been dumped into the public space. I mean, there's the electronic voting, there's the electronic voting. I said, anytime you see this one, others have as an attachment. There are many others, in the ones you're listing now, but the key driver, the National Assembly is eager
or intent or desirous of amending the timetable, then among other important aspects of the amendment process. So that makes somebody in the National Assembly is very carefully attuned to getting this now to shape the conversation and possibly get the country to accept the reality of a new timetable for the election. And that is where we start to unpack it. What is the motivation behind this kind of push?
Why do you think that's important to question?
Because it's important is that you ask yourself why the ADC thinks it's important. And me, as a Nigerian citizen, as a patriot, why do I think it is important? I can give you the positive side of it. It's important to clean out the litigations and so on, and in order to have the new slate of leaders have proper mandate from the tribunal to Supreme Court. So when they now settle on the job, there's nothing hanging over their head. And secondly, it's important to do it maybe with their personal resources. So you don't get sworn in as a governor, or a senator, or a president, and then use state fund in a way in order to pursue your litigation. That's the positive part of it. The negative part of it in this cycle, that many can say, it is a good amendment that could commence 2031. You know why? Because this government is aware that it has lost direction and lost track. This government is aware that it has failed woefully. So it needs to ensure that you hold the election as fast as possible. ADC is just a new party. To build this infrastructure, to ready its ranks, to expand its base. PDP is under immense pressure from the same government from outside, poaching their governors, poaching members everywhere. So the party is scrambling to survive. And then an election is done before them. And APC is bloated with flatulence and obesity because they swallow so much inside of them. So it suits APC now that they have a very short transition program. It suits the other two parties or three parties that you have a elongated period in which they put their house in order, re-engineer their ranks, rebuild their infrastructure, and go for election 2027.
But if you put the pros and cons on the scale.
Yeah, because I'm saying that in principle, if you commence this 2031, it could be better for us so that people are already attuned that the elections will be February, March 2027, and they calculate on the basis of that.
Yeah, if this passes,
and that even the process of presidential nomination will be around July, August, as it was last year, and last cycle, 2022-23. Suddenly now, if you're going to hold the election in November, if they're successful in getting this over the finishing line, that means you're bringing forward the nomination process. That's how the president can actually be in March, possibly, of 2026, not July or August. The governors may well be December 2025 or maybe January 2026. The timeline becomes excruciatingly very tight for the parties except APC that is bloated.
You're saying 3 months. 3 months is such a long time that you think it could undermine the opposition?
I said that the intent of this government from day one, when you fail as a president and as a presidency and as a party like Tinubu and his team have done, the only way it can stroll into power is by dismantling the guardrails of democratic governance. And there are 4 of them. Short and civic spaces. Look at even they bring back our gay space. It's shut out now. Use the cyber law and all that manner to criminalize dissent and chase civic voices and media voices into the shadows. Warn even the media, including people who anchor the limit of their power and so on. Frighten labor, with the, terror financing that they are silenced and then dismantle the apparatus of multi-party democracy. I'm coming if you do all this. Right. You're not governing, but you're winning. You're not actually implementing policies and programs that will uplift the people's living standard. World Bank gave you kudos on physical and macroeconomic stability and terrible report card on increased poverty beyond Buhari-led poverty. So at the level of governance, you have failed. But at the level of politics, you are deploying resources to muzzle opposition, to decapitate the party as much as you can, have a short-term election, then get yourself in. So longer time for this other party is going to be longer recovery time. Right. So, but if you have that law in place, but with a caveat that the implementation process should commence 2031, I'll be more comfortable with it.
Right.
So I like it in principle, but the commencement date is the problem.
I mean, you can cherry pick what you want from some of the amendments that have been talked about right now.
We already talked about one.
Single day voting. Where are you on that? Should it be this time or 2031? Where are you on or some of the other amendments? Electronic voting, diaspora voting. Do you want it now or 2031?
I can tell you. There are structural issues in the amendment process that you can even start today. If it's possible to have electronic voting today, as people have been canvassing for the past 2 cycles, not even this cycle, not even the last cycle, maybe 2015 or so, it's possible to have that. If we can technically implement it, that's good for me. If you can have that part of what the people have been screaming about it for a long period of time, they are Nigerian citizens. Though they live abroad. Other countries are doing it. Technically speaking, you can do it now, do it now. The other one about even instant reporting, IREV, and so on like what you did in 2023, do that in 2027. But when you talk about timeline, that's the structure of electoral management. That you're looking at the timetable. It is not that fundamental as denying people the right to vote.
Between now, Prof, and November of 2026, which if you do the math, would most likely be the timeline for the next general election, if at all this 184, 85 days is being implemented, right? As
they have to implement it as part of the law.
Yeah, if that sticks around, don't you think within the next 1 year, any serious political party or political movement would have gotten its acts together?
It is not as if the elections will just come in warfare swoop. The election is conditioned by certain other critical timelines. If it is election November 2026, something goes back 6 months.
Yeah, but the PDP is having its convention next month.
Goes back 6 months or 3 months or 5 months. The clear thing is that mindset in politics is very vital. People are planning on the basis of what they already think, right or wrong, to be the timetable ahead of them. They're pacing themselves not like in a sprint, but in a marathon. How do you pace yourself? How do you breathe? How do you suck in the energy? How do you come out there? A new party like ADs, for example, there's another smaller one. There's another party that may be going to become bigger later. ADA, possibly having a provisional certificate. Possibly it will take 2 or 3 months to even have a full certificate as a registered political party. These parties now, even this one, ought to be part of that conversation.
But if you have to consider the big picture, Prof,
yes.
We had the current electoral amendment in 2022, and we went into the election in 2023.
Actually, in the proper sense of it, the next amendment process ought to be in 5 years. I'm not saying that doing it now is wrong, but go and check what the system says. 5 years. 2027 is when we're going to start the process of amendment or conclude it. So if you start this process now and then do those ones that go to the heart of electoral management, of what impartiality, objectivity, and then safeness of our election, that the international community is saying, we're going to observe your election, we are watching what you're doing. You're not going to watch what they do because they did it on a Thursday or a Friday or a Monday or a Tuesday or a November or a January. No. You can do it any of those days or any of those months and still get it right. But they're watching it. If you do it in November, did you get it right? Was it free, fair, and the transparent and credible elections? Even if you do it March the next year,
are your suspicions grounded on evidence, Prof?
That means
where is this suspicion
let me tell you.
from?
Let me tell you. You see, what they call convergence of forces will point to a clear direction. So I, as a thinker, will look at this convergence of forces. That the government is faltering, poverty is increasing, civil spaces are shrinking. Parties under severe stress.
Is civil space shrinking? Some would say you're painting an Orwellian picture.
I'm not to paint an Orwellian picture.
That does not exist.
I'm telling you, I'm not painting an Orwellian picture.
Right.
It is clear there that they have a weaponized judicial system. They have a cyber law that is being misapplied and abused. They have the symbol of resistance under Jonathan. I said it in the studio here. They bring back the GS movement here to bring him down. They operated freely, day and night. Big boys and girls.
Some would say that movement has been shuttering for quite some time.
I'm saying that the specs they use have been shuttered by DSS. You can't go to Freedom Square now and protest. It is anathema to this government. So what happened to the end hunger protesters? Small boys, underaged, locked up, shackled and manacled for months or weeks before they were brought out. Before the under Buhari's, suzerainty, what happened to end, SARS? So in fact, okay, have you heard in your lifetime that Labour leaders have been accused of terror financing? An NLC president stopped at international airport and dragged back to the country. Then this goes on, it's not within that imagination. This government is what they call competitive authoritarianism. It's a hybrid regime, a cross between proper democracy and authoritarianism and illiberalism. So that's why the government wants this thing to happen very fast when other parties are not fully ready for it. That is simply the picture, not me painting. And at the end of the day, you ask those who are watching this view, their viewpoint on this matter. I can assure you that a lot of them will align with my perspective that why in principle we like this 6 months, this period, space, for us to really have proper time for litigation. It is equally crucial that we do that at the proper historical time in future.
So, in the final analysis, there are some amendments in your view that are good, but need a lot more time.
They're all good, including this one.
Yeah,
but these other ones can happen instantaneously.
They're implemented.
Absolutely.
Right, okay. But talk to me then about this super majority. I mean, we'll segue into PDP in just a moment, but the super majority that the APC right now enjoys, not just in the National Assembly, but across the country. We see the electoral map being remade in the image of the APC.
Redrawn.
Now it is, it's everywhere now.
Okay.
There's no part of the country that the APC has no fingerprint in, that has no, considerable influence across the 6 geopolitical zones. What does that tell you about what is actually happening politically? I mean, you talk about your quote-unquote failures of the government. Why doesn't that translate into the political fortunes of the APC or the Tinubu administration?
Okay, fine. In 2003, my party suffered a disaster, Alliance for Democracy. I was the founding national secretary. They had a cooperative relationship with then President Obasanjo. They adopted him as a candidate. They didn't feel a candidate because Obasanjo did poorly, actually disastrously in 1999. Only Bola Tinubu survived that 8 week. 5 of the states shifted to PDP. The entire Southeast was PDP. The entire South-South was PDP, without exception. The 5 states of the Southeast by then, 2003, were PDP. 6 states of the South-South, PDP. 5 states of the Southwest, PDP. North Central are like 4 out of 6 PDP. The list goes on. At the time, they had about 24, 25 governors as APC in the House. That's what I thought about flatulence, about obesity that comes with gorging yourself with so much. Sometimes begin to disgorge what you've eaten. APC will still begin to disgorge what they're eating. They are now suffering from flatulence and obesity. Power, appetite is rapacious. It's like gluttony.
But that's not what we're hearing from the people joining them.
I'm coming. That's gluttony. Now you're dealing with an elite that has lost their way in terms of character. Man, there's a few of them. You're talking about super majority. Do you know there's a case in court concerning the PDP's own minority leader in the House of Reps who has gone to court to stop being impeached by his own colleagues. That is PDP, who has never raised the voice against APC from 2023 to date. So APC have been enjoying to super majority in the Senate, in the House, in National Assembly, across board since the commencement of this regime. So this now is now a physical manifestation in terms of nomenclature. But in terms of National Assembly, have you heard in your time, since you started being an adult and operating the space as you're operating now, where you don't have a powerful voice in the Senate, resisting as a Senate minority leader, House of Minority Leader caucus, talking, opposing the government here and there, supporting here and there, having alternative voice and viewpoints. Now it is all commandist from the top down. So whether they have 50 or 90, it is the same for this time around. And it's not because it's not because of the masses who put them there. It's because they're betraying the trust of the people. They're betraying their confidence. If you even go to the PDP matter, if you're going to transition into, in 1999, as a Secretary of Alliance for Democracy, we had a case to treat Oyo, one central district in Oyo State, where the party won. But we don't know who won, so the law says. So AD won is clear, but who then had the flag of AD, let us determine it. You know what that tells you? Individuals are not important in our elections, parties are important. The name minded will never appear on the ballot paper. It's the name of the party, the symbol, the image. So you go and then cast a vote for PDP or Labour Party. You get a mandate from millions of people. And then you go to the National Assembly, say, oh, I'm starting up to now decant another party. And you walk free. And journalists are not even holding the task because their job is just as an interpreter of events, not as somebody who's a participant as a nation.
I mean, but there is also a legal loophole or legal pathway
that abused,
where a lawmaker, for instance, can leave his political party.
If the party is intractable, blah, 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 and so on. How about when the party has
what is happening in the PDP?
How about when the party has
is the most open secret in the past 2 years?
First and foremost, the PDP, even if you come to PDP as a party, the PDP suffered political challenge and political disaster from 2023, not a legal disaster. PDP's legal matter, I've said it on several platforms, started from politics to legal. From 2023, when they did not fix zoning to the south, they suffered a political crisis. Some of the governors walked away. Some supported the other party who won. Now, from that time until the Senatorial matter arose, the party was not in faction. The party was not in crisis. The party, you see, when the party is in crisis, a legal crisis, you have two factions contending. The PDP was one, the chairman, Damagu, and everybody all together. But they have issues with some governors who had finished their tenure and so on there, who said, we will not accept this thing that happened. And they carried it forward. That's political crisis. That's not the basis constitutionally for you to declare from your party. There must be two factions.
I mean, when there was no one particular national secretary of the party.
I said that matter became legal just months ago. When ultimately the party recovered itself and said, okay.
I mean, today there's still a legal matter around the convention that is due to take place next month.
Anytime.
But the bigger question is, you listen to the governor of Akwa Ibom before his defection to the APC and what he said about the internal crisis, that, listen, their political futures are at stake.
Okay.
Because what if, at the end of the day, they share the same fate of Governor Matawale, former governor of Zamfara State, Governor Matawale, where after winning the election, they realized that the conventions that led to the primaries, that led to everything else, was null and void, ergo, they lose those positions. And they cannot risk that.
Okay, fine.
How do you put that on the APC?
Fine. You told me here that you have 1 year from November to now to hold elections, and you can do that successful. You have even an additional 4 months in case you do it March next year. So the governor speaking, or who spoke months ago, he knows that his party will hold a convention in November this year. That's a year to the next November if an election will hold then. He didn't wait till that November this year to say, this is the final bus stop of this party. The convention will determine whether the party is going to be in factions or fracas. I'm coming. So you did not wait to see whether your crisis will be resolved. When enough time for you to go to where you want to go to. Because as you said, you have 1 year even if you bring the election forward. He didn't wait for the 1 year or the extra 4 months on top of it. Sometimes 4 months ago was enough time to conclude I may be in trouble with my party over its legal status when it is like 2 years, almost 2 years to the election. That explanation is idiotic to me. It doesn't make any sense. What makes sense is that they always tell you they want to play at the center. The Delta governor said the same thing. But the president they are rushing to did not play at the center. He stood firm as the only governor of AD in Lagos. The rest have gone. Because they did, they've lost. He said, no, I'm not losing this thing. And he stood firm and rebuilt his base. That's one of the things I said about the president, positively. He stood firm as opposition governor and rebuilt his party, rebuilt his base, and recovered those states. From Osun to Ekiti, to Ondo, to Oyo, and so on. That's remarkable courage. Now you as a governor, with resources, tremendous resources in Akwa Ibom, in a federal system, must be included in the federal center, must be part of the federal conversation, you to survive. Delta said the same thing. Delta said the same thing, that we took a decision that we need to be inclusive. Even the new governor today talking about inclusivity, apart from PDP inclusion, all the statement made around him is, let us now be part of the renewed hope agenda, reform process, and so on. You don't need to do that in a country that is not unitary in nature. All the resources are accountable to you as a state will come to you, constitutionally prescribed for you to receive. Many governors take Bola Mohammed of Bauchi State, Senator Bola Mohammed, General Governors Forum. He had a summit on economic summit and investment summit. Who opened the summit? The vice president. Who the people were there? 2 former presidents of PDP extraction, Obasanjo and Jonathan. 3 days later, he spoke against this kind of defection. He spoke that the party will stand. I will stand. He's not an enemy of the state. It is courage. So sheer cowardice, godlessness, and chicken-heartedness are the issue driving some of these governors away from their party. But they will camouflage. Listen, they will camouflage it, in fine times when the party is in crisis. The party has not sorted this issue.
This is mostly about strategy, isn't it?
It's not strategy. PDP
is not a religion. Listen, they don't have to die on that hill.
I'm saying that it is not the party. It's the people. If you want to taste a popularity, you simply go back to the people and sing their mandate.
But to be,
and sing their mandate. Because listen, 2 million people voted for you. You consulted 5,000 people or 10,000 people or even fewer number of people. You talk to elite in your smoke-filled dark rooms. Say, I'm going to go to APC. What do you think? Go here, go. The masses there who simply recognized you for PDP, separated from APC. There was an APC candidate in 2023. They saw that symbol. They rejected it. They voted for you. Now you're now using legalistic terms, legalese. Parties in crisis, parties here, this. We don't want to be excluded from the conversation at the center to betray their trust. The sacred trust they're giving you. Your name wasn't on the ballot. Their party was on the ballot. They voted for the party, not you. You just represented the party.
Okay, I mean, Prof.
There's no way to defend it.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't defend. There's no way you can defend it because you see, until even journalists live up to the responsibility to not fold their hands back and say, "Oh, we are just like doing our job by just asking questions and looking at the picture." You become engaged. You become activists because you're a Nigerian citizen. You understand the law. You understand the rules. You understand morality.
Yeah,
so anybody who comes to behave anyhow they behave in politics gets away with you because there's no accountability.
Yeah, but also,
and again, listen, I said, and again, if you and your team, not only in this studio, across the country, hold a town hall, do a town hall for 2 hours. Don't just get guests on the studio. Some of them talk rubbish. Do a town hall. Bring in stakeholders. Bring in thinkers. Civic leaders to interpret, to understand and interpret and interrogate this matter. Where a party has a symbol and is voted for, and one individual goes somewhere else and says, no, I'm going to take another party, as it suits him. And it's not abhorrent. It is not unethical.
Right.
It doesn't grow our democracy. It doesn't shrink the space of multi-party conversation. Then it's awful. Yeah. Not just for the politicians, but for the rest of the stakeholders who are almost like they laid back, bemused to allow such shenanigans to go on.
All right, there's a lot of time for us to explore some of these issues, and I guess that the legality or illegality or immorality, or however you want to describe it, of the current situation that we're witnessing is not stopping most of those who are still considering this particular move. And some would argue that, they have rolled the dice and they will pay the price on election day. And if their people decide to elect them, well, that means strategically they made the good move. The
only caveat there is this. It's not even paying the price. I know that people do not believe that there's a connection, an intersection between politics and morality. That everything is Machiavellian in nature. And content and context. The end justifying the means. That's even for me, not that. It's important that even if you don't pay the price in terms of losing an election, that high moral standard that you first shot on, that ethical, imperative that you abused, damages democratic conversation and trust building more than anything else.
Prof, as always, a pleasure talking to you about some of these developments, and we look forward to more of these conversations in the weeks and months to come.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much for stopping by, Prof.
Drag in here
exactly.
and be roasted as much as you can.
I'm sure you're not complaining, Prof.
No, not at all. I love it. That kind of conversation I love, with somebody who knows the stuff you're doing. To dig in there and then get the best out of your guests.
Thank you so much for your time,
It's a
Prof.
pleasure.
I appreciate you very much for stopping by. All right.